Are we live? Are you live? Are we all live? I don't know.
I think we're live. Oh no, are
Think
we
we're
live? Are we
I
live?
think so.
Think so?
You can tell me. You can see the screen as I am in a remote location, hidden away from the people.
That's all right though. Being in a remote location isn't necessarily a bad thing. We've gotten used to it over the last year.
But yeah, you know, gas lines are long because people are panic buying. But
Man,
hey,
that is so
America.
Ridiculous, right? So
it is
ridiculous.
Americans. It is the American way. You know, a slight nudge in the wrong direction, and people want to bulk buy everything. So.
Right? Hey, out there, internet, how are you doing? It's Scuba and The Ry. It is me, Steve, aka Scuba, and of course is The Ry Guy. As we are back again for another Tuesday night podcast where Ry and I sit, we chat about games, chat about movies, and chat about whatever else we're thinking about. So thank you for coming to hang out with us. Before we get too far into it, let's take a moment to do a couple of shout outs and a quick thank yous. The first and most important shout out ever is to thank you in the community who are watching this video, whether it's live or on replay later. You are awesome and amazing human beings, and we love you. Second, shout out to the moderators in the chat. You guys are awesome and amazing. Love everything you do when you can do it. Third shout out is a shout out to Sirenscape. Sirenscape is an online repository of soundboards and music that you can use for your tabletop experience. We have been utilizing them for well over a year, almost getting into 2 years here with the podcast. Go to sirenscape.com for more information and to check out their online player and all the various sound, whether it's high fantasy, sci-fi, or everything in between. Check out sirenscape.com. If you're enjoying this video and enjoy hearing us chatter on about all those things, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe, and hit the bell notification, and so you be notified when more videos come out. And if you're watching us here after the fact, please be sure to leave a comment in the comments below. Feed the YouTube algorithm because it is hungry
For something.
So with that, let's get into it. Ry, what you been up to, man? It's been what you been doing? Anything good?
What have
I heard you're on
been
vacation
doing
this week.
Yes, I took off. Started last Friday, and now carrying into this Tuesday, and just kind of been chillaxing, doing things here and there. Getting a lot of watching time since school is done as well. So, blazing through some anime, some shows here and there, some films. Other than that, keeping up my routine on the weekends, which is more relaxing. But this weekend is a special weekend for everybody and everything that have mothers. So it was a Mother's Day weekend.
That's right. It was Mother's Day past weekend. So make sure, if you haven't, make sure you do it. But yeah, thanks to all the mothers. There was a lot of Mother's Day stuff going on, flying around the stuffs.
Oh yes. So took my madres out to a local place called Hot Tuna. Had a good feast of seafood. If you're ever in the area, check it out. It's a great place. But so far, lots of gaming in today, actually, since I was off. It was a nice weather outside. I have a zoo membership, so me and my girlfriend Angelica went to the zoo.
That explains that funky turtle pose that you posted on your Instagram.
The operatic turtle Ry singing. You know, once I see a turtle singing, gotta sing with it. You know, got to. So, other than that, found another hole-in-the-wall Mexican place over near where I live. So, check it out one day, Scuba, when you want to. Other than that,
I actually checked out a hole-in-the-wall place over the Friday. A place called the Shrimp Shack. I got one open near the gym I go to, and I've been meaning to go check it out. Well, Friday happened to present itself with an opportunity to go check it out because my wife was running late coming home because she was working late to make up some hours. My daughter was out hanging out with friends. My son was at work. So it was just me. So I was like, I'm gonna go get something to eat. So I checked this place out. Had like a crab and shrimp po' boy, and kind of just sat chill, watched Guy Fry's dines, dives, and drive-ins for a little bit, and then it was kind of chill. It was kind of relaxing. But that was the weekend was pretty crazy. Saturday was just nutso. We did Shadow Watch game. First time in like a month. So all of us were like, what were we doing? Oh yeah, we were here. Oh yeah, we were gonna do the thing. Yeah. And then afterwards stayed on for another call, another call, and I didn't get off the Zoom until like 6:30 and had to rush over because Friday night my son got sent home early from work, right? He wasn't feeling too good. Their company policy is, hey, if you go home sick, you have to go and get a COVID test the following day to make sure you ain't got it. So I was like, all right. He goes and does that. Keep in mind, my wife is due for her second shot on Saturday. I've had my second shot and all that. So he goes and I get a message while we're in the middle of playing Shadow Watch about my son testing positive for COVID. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? We're at the tail end here. That's it.
Tail end. The tail.
I mean, we got a few weeks before they lift all the mandates, and
yeah.
Anyway,
2 more weeks.
So we all do our tests. We all do the thing. All the tests come back negative for me, my wife, and my daughter. We're good. Him, on the other hand, he's been hanging out in his room, going through all that quarantine stuff. But for him, it's not much of a difference because he hardly ever comes out of his room anyway.
That is very true. I can vouch for that. I've been over your house.
So he's been in there. It's all good. I'm getting over a sinus infection. I went in there. I told the doc, it's like, hey, I had a sinus infection. I feel fine. And they're like, well, you don't qualify for the rapid test because you don't display any symptoms. Great. Took the regular one, got the results back, so I'm good.
Yeah.
And then it was like, so that was one thing that happened. So Sunday was kind of a down day. I spent all of Sunday going through a couple of audiobooks. I did the stream, which you and I were doing. Sunday was Scoob, we're painting miniatures. I started working on this young blue dragon. And then afterwards, I had every intention to play more of Spider-Man on PlayStation. But instead, I put on a YouTube video of a long play of Subnautica, put in my earbuds, and listened to another book on Audible, another one in the Dresden Files series of books. And next thing I know, it's 2 in the morning, and it's like I should go to bed now. But that isn't the... Yeah, he's doing fine, Mayflower. He's doing fine. He was actually out of his room a little bit. He's got his bandana on, and before he touches anything, he's got like the disinfecting wipe. So, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. The other big thing is I went back to work today.
Yes, you did the work thing.
I did the work thing. I got a call last week from the company I used to work for. Old contact that I've been pretty good rapport with over the years. And he's like, hey, of course I'm summarizing, but he's like, hey, so-and-so is leaving and the spot's opening up. Are you interested? Sure. Can we do a conference call with you, me, and this other person on Thursday? I'm like, sure. Oh, he's booked. How about today in 2 hours? Sure. I mean, right? And we have that, and then a couple hours later, I've got the offer letter in my email. So it's like, oh, okay, cool.
There you go.
And then all this nonsense with my son goes on. And it's like, well, you got to get a COVID test. All right, I'll go get a COVID test. Well, obviously, I'm not going into the office until I have the results of that test.
Yeah.
So I email HR, be like, all right, the bump in the road here. And they're like, well, we could push back your start date and all that. And I'm like, wait a minute. I can't come in. That doesn't mean I can't work.
Yeah. So
went in today and got the chance to chat with some peeps. It was fun. Say hi to a few others. Kind of start getting settled in. And you and I were talking before the show. started, it feels like, because I got laid off from this company in 2020.
Yeah.
And here it is a little over a year later. And I'm back at the same company, different position, different team, but everything else is kind of the same. And it's like, I feel like I actually was on a sabbatical, an unpaid sabbatical for a year. Because I go up in there. It's like, yeah, things have changed in the company. Things have changed a lot. But so many people I knew are still kind of there and doing some of the highs and how's it going? And hey, welcome back, missed you, and all that other stuff. I was like, I get used. Yeah, Shadow Manings, it is the one we shall not name because, hey, this podcast is a podcast, and I try to keep a little bit of separation. But y'all know me. You know what's up. You know what's up. Yeah.
Oh, I know what's up.
But
I keep my tendrils, tentacles to myself for my thoughts. But hey, it's a plus for you, so I back you.
But you know, it's weird because so much from my personal stuff has kind of changed. Like I'm sitting here right now, I got 2 people who report to me and getting in this, that, and trying to. It's like coming in there and it's like, wow, it's like there's some communication stuff and all that, and it's like I was thinking on the drive home. It's like one of the people suggested, hey, I'd really like to set up kind of a shared calendar. I'm sitting running through my head what my options are, and then it's like, wow, this is kind of doesn't even feel like I really missed a beat in some regards. So granted, I'm there are some changes. We'll talk more about that as things go, but it's weird. And like today, it's like I went into the office today. So I told the moderator team that I'm with, it's like, hey, I'm going to go into the office for a little while. And then I was like, wait a minute, that sounds really weird saying it out loud. We spent a year working remotely, people. And all of a sudden, in a year of doing this, a year where this camera angle that you're seeing is how I communicate with the world, to I'm going to go into an office.
Yeah, venture out into a new world.
To go into an office, right? So I went into the office and I see my new desk and I'm just like, oh, yeah. I'm back in an office.
Yeah.
You build out your own custom studio and stuff, and it's like you have to go into an office and then come back to your studio. It's like I was looking at the monitor like, this monitor seems really small. Oh, wait, that's right. I have one like it's twice that size of my studio.
Yes. You have a huge one that spans end to end. So.
But it's okay. I mean, the big thing is getting back into the work routine, getting back into doing some teamwork, physical, face-to-face kind of stuff. So I'm sure it's going to be great. There's a whole plethora of new projects, plethora of new things to kind of work on, and some new things to kind of build out. And I'm finding myself drawing on the things I've been doing with virtual teams, like with my moderators here when we chat. Granted, we don't chat all often, but we still can communicate and everything. Chatting with the other moderator group with Realm Smith and be like, okay, we get around and we can talk and we do these virtual things and we have these shared things, and taking a lot of that infrastructure learning and learning how to work within that, and then moving it over for this new team that I have and working on those communications, because I got one person who's days, one person who's nights, and then there's me who kind of floats in there, and so there's some plans that try to get into. It's just like so wild, so weird.
Lots of things going in and out. So, but once you get into that routine, you'll be fine.
Yeah. So that's been my week. It's been, it's like, hey, here, you want to do this thing again? I'm like, sure, why not? Why not? That doesn't mean I'm not going to still kind of look into the teaching thing that we talked about. It's just now it's like kind of one of those things. It's like, I kind of need to know there's a steady paycheck coming in while I work on some of these other things. So that's kind of why I did it.
Yeah.
Because I was told, hey, listen, hear them out. I heard them out. I'm going to try it. I'm going to give it a try. But I feel that after my sabbatical, so to speak. I'm in a much better place mentally and everything else for going back into this game.
Yeah. You have a more clear mindset. You have a different set of responsibilities and stuff. So
Yeah, it is a
it'll help.
different set of responsibilities, but thankfully all the stuff I know and all the stuff I learn, it's like I can apply those and I can talk to these people and like, okay, how do I get certain things moving forward? Because I approach certain situations differently.
Yeah.
And so there's adjustment to be made, but I don't feel like it's going to be too terrible.
I don't think so. Especially what you're going to be doing. It shouldn't be too much. So.
No, it should be fun. Yeah, Shadow Mains. I'm thinking about looking for the ODU's Career Switcher program to get a certificate so I could be a tech ed teacher.
Yeah, it's a very, very great program at ODU. If anybody interested, definitely look it up.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. A lot of you get to apply that knowledge, but there's a lot of steps to go through, and some of them are can be a little pricey and some studying. And it was kind of one of those. I was kind of in that situation. It's like the shifting from Twitch to YouTube, it did cause a drop in income. I'll be honest with you. Twitch, I was making X amount of dollars. I move over to YouTube. That dropped significantly because the mechanisms are different here on YouTube than they are on Twitch.
Yeah.
So it's that, and of course, you know, even though I'm still technically unemployed because this does not pay enough to be considered a income, depending on certain metrics, it's like,
yeah,
it's kind of feeling myself kind of getting boxed into a corner, and then all of a sudden this kind of presents itself, and it's like, all right, do it. Yeah, Shadow Man's Career Switcher program. Check it out. Go check it out if you want. Ping me afterwards. I'll shoot you the links for the stuff I've got.
I'll post something in the YouTubes for him to take a look, and then you can add on top of that, Scoop. Yeah, it's definitely a great program to check it out. But he has a lot of good resources and utilities. You know, selfless plug since I go there and graduate.
Well, he did too. Yeah. So it's like but yeah, it's it's an interesting program. It's pretty open, and right now there's a definite need for tech ed teachers and some other teachers. So getting through some of the certification stuff is really kind of interesting kind of pathway, and I'm going to be continuing on that while everything else is going on, and kind of put myself in a position. What's my choices? What are my options? Because I feel now, after all of this COVID stuff, and now that the world is starting to get back moving, I feel I have more options on the table. And like I said, I'm in a much better place mentally, emotionally, not necessarily physically.
Yeah.
But that can be easily remedied. Like, the nice thing about going back into an office is actually getting up and moving about and walking around. And it felt really good to kind of walk around. Granted, the restaurant right next to the place still is crap. I went there just because I didn't have any options. There wasn't a lot of time, and I wanted to take one of my guys and have lunch and, you know, kind of talk a little bit, just, you know, kind of catch up. But it was just like, as usual, I go there, I get the pizza, and the middle of the pizza's cold because I took it old. It's like, oh, this is such crap food. Nothing worse than having crap food.
Well, it is.
I spent too much time with you being a foodie.
Hey, you know, I take you to good places. I don't let you down. True. Even places you're Cimarron that I've taken you there, they're still better than half the other places out there. So,
excuse me. Alrighty, so we've been babbling out for about XYZ. Let's get into what we're gonna do. We got a movie review to review. The new film from Anthony Hopkins, The Father, which we know he won best actor.
Yeah, best actor in a leading role at the
best
Oscars.
Actor leading role, and he's now the oldest living actor to achieve that honor. Yes, so we've got that film, and then we'll talk about some state of game, and then we'll get into whatever else we have time to get into. So buckle up, stick around, let's get to it. Review time.
Review the movies.
Let's talk about The Father with Anthony Hopkins and Olivia Colman. All right, Ry, you check this out. You said you rented it on the Amazon Prime. I know
Yes,
you can rent
sir.
it on iTunes or YouTube or anywhere you could get videos to watch. So, Ry, tell us about The Father.
All right. The Father is a film that is it focuses on the age-old tale of lost memories. That's how I tagline my review, and it actually focuses on an elderly man as he loses grip on his mental state. And the whole film is his journey of trying to get grips with his reality. The things he sees, believes, and he thinks he understands aren't what they seem. So in the main role of the elderly man, name is Anthony. That's what his name is played by Anthony Hopkins. And the film begins with him having a conversation with his daughter, who goes by the name of Anne, who's played by Olivia Colman. Anne is planning to leave London to move to Paris to live with somebody that she's met, and she's letting her father know that he's going to need a caretaker for his everyday routines. And from that conversation, it kind of plugs in some uncertain doubt, and it leads on this journey of his fragile mind. And from this point onward, you get to see this movie through the perspective of this gentleman, and how his everyday routine not as very linear as it should be. So there's a very unorthodox method on the way this film is directed, because scenes are piecemealed in a way that everything is unseamless but very direct and informative. There's what I call mimicry of unexpectedness. As Anthony, he gets as he encounters other people, as the audience, you see the reality throttled through these unexplained circumstances. People come in and out, situations change, sceneries change, and whatnot. Nothing's explained. In a very traditional film, this would be seen as, plot threads not being explained, plot holes and stuff. But there's a purpose in this intent, because you're trying to see the parallels of his confusion and anguish as he's just losing his memory. He's going through dementia. So you're seeing that perspective from him, and it's very daunting and very very emotionally stricken, because you see this endurance of the human soul as he wants to believe everything he sees and hears, but the probability of everything being true is not there. So it's an endeavor and an endurance race on that situation, what we call life. There is a finite place in life, and he's getting to that end. So as the movie progresses, it turns into this roller coaster of consequences, and you start to see that it leads closer to an unwanted end. And the strength of this film is watching in agony as this man is just losing grips on what he believes to be true and real, and everything that seems to be right is not always right in his eye. And you start to see this very ironic appeal of innocence as he's kind of retroactively falling apart, but having to come to grips to his own reality by losing grips on his own memory. It's a very humbling kind of film. It's very direct in its very unorthodox way. I think this is like one of the better scripts I've seen written in quite some time. When I was watching this film, I thought about A Spotlight, which is a movie that came out a few years ago. It won Best Picture. It focused on the downfall of the Roman Catholic Church and the whole child abuse cases in the Catholic Church. And why I compare this to that film, because it's very driven by conversation. And being that it's driven by conversations, and that the conversations, you don't know if they're real or not, makes it harder to believe what you're seeing, but it also makes you fall into that hole of this hopelessness, because you just don't know what to expect in the end. So
Interesting. How long? I mean, and so the film is from the perspective of somebody suffering from dementia,
yeah,
and coming to and coming to grips with that.
yeah.
And obviously this one Anthony Hopkins. How is the rest of the film overall, as far as the pacing the pacing and the supporting cast?
The supporting cast is great. Like the main supporting cast that you see a lot through the film is Anne, played by Olivia Colman, and you get to see not only this ripple effect of this dementia affecting Anthony Hopkins, but you see it affecting her as the daughter, because some of the things that he does, some of the abuses he gives to her, it's not intentional, but it's still hurtful. So you start to see the emotional toll on her, her fiance, and some of the other peoples that come into contact with him throughout the film. I'm not going to say who's who, because it does have a purposeful intent on what the reveal is at the end. But when certain people and certain things he says or comes in contact with, it has a very emotional toll on the other character. So it has a rippling effect. So by seeing the perspective from him, you get to feel that kind of like hardship, like saying that you have a conversation with a loved one and you say something so hurtful, but after a while you start to feel that pain, but you also feel the pain from not yours perspective, but theirs perspective. That's what the film does. It gets at the heart of the rawness of the finite later stages of life and how you just have to come to grips with the actuality of events, even if it hurts you in the end.
All right. So what did you call this one?
Overall, like I said, this is a very hardened drama. It's not for everybody out there, but it's for people that love drama, love great acting. I give it a 4 out of 5 full price. It is one of the most superb scripts I've seen on display on the screen in quite some time. Like, it's very tightly written, and its purposeful intent and its unexpectedness.
All right. So
Anthony Hopkins, I think, after watching this and all the issues of the hoopla of him winning, I do agree that he won it rightfully, from my opinion.
Oh, that's good. All right, go check out The Father. It's on all your streaming options.
Yep. Prime Video is one, and then you said it's on Apple, so everywhere else in between.
Yeah, if it's on Prime Video, it's pretty much everywhere. But and another thing we could chat, and the next thing we could chat about is the latest stuff. We do a quick gloss over the latest episode of The Bad Batch over on Disney Plus. The new Star Wars animated cartoon set in the Clone Wars universe. This second episode dropped last Friday. Very, very cool episode. If you're a fan of the older of the original Clone Wars stuff, there's some nice callbacks to some of that. And as we were talking, one of the things that seems absolutely crazy is, if you think about the Bad Batch is put in an era of Star Wars that's roughly a few weeks after Order 66. And the Empire has literally updated all their signs, all their messaging, all their logos in a couple of weeks. Galaxy-wide. It's like,
very efficient. Very efficient.
I mean, seriously, who is that organized? Or it tells you really Palpatine was really that well organized that he already had all the signs and stuff ready to go.
It's very convenient, but that is how some things are written. Just you want to get things moving in a certain direction, but having everything set up in the way it is, the ripple effect on society as a whole. That's what I appreciated of episode 2. You get to see that ripple effect down on the ground level, how it affects everyday routines in people's lives.
And one of the things I also really enjoyed is that discussion between the discussion between Echo and Tech about it's like, the clones all wanted some individuality.
Yeah.
And now with the Empire taking over, they're taking away individuality.
Yeah.
And it's a nice how it's like that thought in a philosophical sense of individuality versus non-individuality, because they're implementing basically the chain code or some unique identifier, which is a nice callback to in American history when Social Security numbers were first being implemented. People were having a problem with it because they think now the government could track you in a database. It's like, well, sometimes that's the only way to get organized is you have to give everything a unique ID so you could track them. And that whole debate over how does this impact free will? Does this exercise more government control or organization? It's interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how things continue to progress with this, because you're definitely seeing that the Bad Batch is used to a structured environment, and now they're having to adapt and learn how to not be in a structured environment.
Yeah, and I just love how it's left to an unknown, what to expect in the next episode, because get off this planet and they're heading off somewhere. So it's just curious to see that ripple effect that you talk about, affect their further journeys throughout this show.
Totally. See, Mr. Chili had just joined us. He apparently was spending too much time in Destiny 2. I guess the latest DLC dropped, or something dropped there.
Yes.
Alrighty, Ryan. What we got next on our agenda tonight?
We have the games, the vid games.
The state of game. Talk about the various games we're playing and how we're playing them. Let's see. We got some video game stuff. Even got a little newsy thingy for video games. So, Ry, start us off.
All right. Well, the only really main game I have been playing is Red Dead Redemption 2, and having the time off gave me some more time to do some deep diving in the game. So I managed to get through. The game is split up in 6 chapters. I was on chapter 4 for a little while, but with the time off, I've gotten all the way into chapter 6. So the overall story is very enthralling, and you get to see the ramifications of living your life as an outlaw start to have a ripple effect on this group of people that you're running with. So through chapter 4, 5, and 6, you start to see the deterioration of certain people in the camp, mental states, because they're just starting to do whatever. They said they're doing whatever it takes to help the camp, but it seems like they're doing whatever it takes to help them. So now your main character, Arthur Morgan, you're starting to get into this phase where certain things happen to the character, so you only have so much time to live. So now he's starting to split away from the group, and just being able to venture out and just see the ramifications of the downfall of all the stuff that's happened in the prior chapters. Like now I'm running around the map, a dead man walking pretty much, because any place I go, I'm wanted dead or alive. So there's like roadblocks everywhere, and I have to try to make sure I maintain the funds that I still have. Robbed a train, and then after I robbed that train, they set a slew of bounty hunters after me. So I had to pay a chunk of chains on my bounty, so I half the funds that I had. But it's just interesting to see that there is consequences to what you're doing in this game, not only individually as a character, but seeing the story have an effect on where you go, people you can converse with, and now we're hiding out, trying our best to survive. So I'm reaching the end. Hopefully it comes to a very mighty conclusion, but it's been a fun journey in the Wild Wild West.
Nice.
And I just hoping to get it done so that the expansion for Valhalla drops this week, Wrath of the Druids, so be able to jump onto that once I get this done.
All right. Well, I was doing some more work on Days Gone. Got myself the Lost Lake, and then it was like, I'm really not excited to continue playing, because I want to be more excited about it. But I see it's Days Gone is definitely be a grind to get through.
Yeah.
And thinking about the mechanics and the controller scheme is very easy. It doesn't require, it's nothing like Witcher, where it's like if you're not playing that and you put it down for 3 months and come back to it, like, all right, what button does what again? Not getting that with Days Gone. It seems fairly kind of right there, what to do, when to do it. And one of the things I like about Days Gone, it's got a very thorough help help knowledge. Like if you hit the start and then go and hit help, it tells you literally, it's like, okay, how do I do this? You could find it, and it's literally how you're thinking the question is how it's laid there, so you could look up how to do it, which is really nice. Because, you know, sometimes in video games, when you go to the help menu, it'd be like, how do I do something? It reads like stereo instructions. You can't understand half of what they're talking about because you're missing some context, or what you're looking for isn't how they worded it in the help. That being said, I figured, you know, I wanted to get into another game, and I wasn't really sure what on Xbox to play as an alternative. So I decided to just go ahead and grab the Spider-Man game from Insomniac and start on that. And you told me when you were playing with it, the web slinging was horribly addictive. You're right. You are so right. I mean, it's like right there. You're right. The first thing you're doing is web slinging, and it's just like, man, this is fun. Now, granted, I spent a lot of time bouncing into buildings and trying to figure out how the mechanic works, but even failing at web slinging was actually enjoyable. Just like actually succeeding at web slinging was really enjoyable.
Like, yeah, once you get used to the mechanics and you get used to the fighting mechanics, it just becomes seamless. So you're in for a treat for Spider-Man, trust me.
Yeah, so it should be a lot of fun. I just got the white spider suit and getting ready for the first set of missions after putting on the new suit, but you know, like I said, I was going to try to play it on Sunday, but then I got into listening to audiobooks. Like I said, I've been working through the Dresden Files, which is a really cool kind of modern fantasy type thing, but we can chat about that later. So you got another thing here, and that is some announcements from Ubisoft.
Yes, sir.
What's going on? What's Ubisoft up to now?
All right, so Ubisoft is a big gaming company. They do Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed series, but they also do a lot of the Tom Clancy games. One of the big Tom Clancy games currently is The Division, specifically The Division 2. So they put out a press release. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the YouTube's links for everybody to check it out. But basically, they announced that not only are they continuing to support Division 2, with Warlords of New York, and how that player base is very successful, they decided to do another expansion of the Division, but not an expansion to Division 2, but just a whole standalone game. So the name of the game is called Division Heartland, and it's going to be a standalone game, but the catch is it's a free-to-play game. And the game will be made available in 2021, 2022 on PC consoles and cloud. So that's the big exciting news that they're coming out. Not only that, they're going to start releasing more stuff related to the Division on mobile platforms, and more content to be revealed for the Division itself.
Well, not to mention they also are planning a film that Netflix is paying for. They have a director. They have a couple of lead characters.
Yeah, Jessica Chastain and Jake Gyllenhaal will be the film's stars, and it's going to be directed by Rawson Marshall Thurber. So, hopefully I didn't butcher your name there, sir. So.
Well, hopefully this one will be better than the last time Jake Gyllenhaal did an Ubisoft game.
Oh yeah, Prince of Persia.
Yeah, Prince of Persia did not go over well. Hopefully this one goes well, because I feel like Division is probably one of the easier ones to adapt.
Yeah,
because all you have to do is look at any other Tom Clancy film property and be like, oh yeah, that's how you do it. I'll just do that.
There you go. And you know, definitely with all the content between the two games, they can come up with a decent story. They don't have to retread what's in the game, but you know how
I think they're going to. I think they're really going to do a good part, because the New York storyline is actually really good. It's really well self-contained, and it could be literally some other people outside of the game, within the same game environment, but just a separate story from the main game.
Oh yeah. So basically, it's going to be fun to see what they do in the film. But not only are they doing film, one more thing they're putting out there, they're going to do a novel with a publishing partner at Aconite. So, and they say the new series, a new story, quote, is set after the events of Division 2 and explores how the outbreak affects different regions of the U.S. as agents fight to secure supply routes, end quote. So
interesting.
So not only are they expanding the games, but they're expanding the reach in different medias. So this property has a very strong fan base. You and me both have played both games extensively. So, you know, no matter, even if we, you know, played it to its end, there's always room to grow and more things to do. So, new game.
It'd be fun there.
Expansion, mobiles, novels, and films, and new content for 2. Us fans for Division 2 is going to be excited for years to come.
Yeah. Alrighty. Let's see. Next up, we got an interesting article. And this is kind of a follow-on to stuff we were talking about before over the whole pandemic with the film industry and release structure. Way back months ago, we talked about how the academies kind of changed up their requirements for film consideration. Like it used to be that in order for a film to be considered for an Oscar or some of the other awards, it had to have a theatrical release. Obviously, last year we're like, oh well, not everybody's going to movie theaters, so we're gonna loosen this requirement.
Yeah.
Netflix has a new movie coming out, done by Zack Snyder, called Army of the Dead. And that's about to get released. Now, here's an interesting tidbit. That is, not only are they releasing it on Netflix, but they're also going to release it in like 600 to 800 theaters.
Yes.
Which is a much broader release than they've ever done. Like when they released some of their other films for consideration for the Academy, they would only do like 100 theaters in like these really random spots just to make sure they could check the box that had a theatrical release. Now we're talking like 600 theaters, which is the largest they've ever done on as the widest scale, because it was that, okay, how's that play into revenue from getting the distribution? But we've also seen that like Warner Brothers and several other places are looking at, okay, well, if I release my film in theater and same day release on the streaming platform, I get a much broader release and I get more people checking it out. So Netflix is following suit. Now it seems interesting because it seems like we're right on the cusp of a whole new way of how we're handling film distribution and giving more choice to the end consumer on how they're going to watch a film and when they're going to be able to watch the.
Yeah, it's definitely my thoughts is this is something we've been talking about for a while, and it's something that I have been foreseeing for quite some time, that the changes in viewership or in the audiences, how they view things has been changing gradually. The pandemic just sped that up really fast, and what this is showing that not only is the viewership changing, but it's changing the structure of how certain films will be viewed in certain places. Specifically, the fact that Netflix is going wide release in theaters for their big blockbuster, emphasis on blockbuster. So it's showing that how the trends of certain movies are going to be going certain ways, and it's showing that not only can Netflix trust that they can make money on their own by putting it on their streaming services, they can also make money and help the theater chains as well make money on their own property. So it's a partnership both ways. It's a 2-lane road, and it's showcasing that not only is there going to be options in how people are going to view things, regardless if it's going to be same day release or some release prior or not prior after that, but it's showing that Netflix thinks that they can make a bang for the buck in both directions. Not only this, but it shows that there's a thriving environment to have both streaming and theaters to coexist. Case in point is Godzilla versus Kong. Made a ton of money at the theaters.
Okay. Before you go there, keep in mind that Godzilla vs. Kong was released to some 3,000 plus theaters. Army of the Dead is only going to like 600 theaters.
Yeah.
But it's an exclusive, it's a deal with Cinemark theater chain.
Yeah. So, yeah, that leads into my point of that, showing that partnerships can be made, but even partnerships can be made with multiple options. And what Netflix is going to do here is going to show that as we further move along past the pandemic stuff, you're going to see these kind of deals where it's going to give option and variability to people to either see it in theater or see it on streaming service, but it's also opening the floodgates to know there's going to be division on what you're mostly going to see on the big screens versus what you're going to see on streaming services. So emphasis on the blockbuster, because they made this deal with their bigger movie. So we'll see how it all pans out later on, especially after, which I mentioned off the podcast, past June, when a lot more of the restrictions are lifted and capacity limits are lifted, and you'll get to see the actual effect of what is going to be made when it's a same-day release. So.
Well, even if the restrictions are all lifted, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to have like this huge tidal wave of viewership.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
but you'll start to actually get stronger numbers to see if the model works. So
I don't know. I don't. I'm still leery about going out, even though I'm fully vaccinated and stuff. I still hate going out. Still hate having to wear the mask everywhere. I don't see that changing even without the mask mandate, because I mean, I just don't see people literally going, oh, it's June 14th. I can no longer wear a mask in public, or I no longer need to wear a mask in public. Let's go out everywhere. I think you're still having a lot of other infrastructure problems. I think infrastructure problems in terms of job market, in terms of the fact that look at how many articles we're talking about where people are not, restaurants cannot seat to capacity because nobody's going back to work, because the unemployment and the stimulus and all these other programs that have come out. Now, granted, I took my benefit from, so regardless of how this sounds, but let's look at it. People are not going back to work because there's that discrepancy in the pay. Like, if you could sit here on unemployment with all these other benefits and make more money than working in a fast food restaurant on a 40-hour week, just because you were lifted restrictions does not mean everybody's just going to be rushing back out. I mean,
well, that's not what I wasn't emphasizing on the fact. I'm just saying that with those lifted, you're going to start to see truer numbers without the restrictions on there.
Okay.
More people are going to go, not everybody. I'm not saying everybody, but you're going to start to see more people enter out. Not like exactly at June, but later on, like the bigger movies that I'm focusing on, like The Matrix, Suicide Squad, Dune, the bigger movies that are getting those same day releases, you're going to see the effect of a full theater with the choice of watching it on HBO Max and or whatever deals that Netflix might make, because they signed that deal to have the Knives Out sequels. They might put those in theaters too, so we could see how that affects, because those are in development, so those aren't going to be released till a couple years.
Yeah, well, I think this article is also citing the next major kind of barometer is going to be the next Marvel movie, which is Black Widow.
Yeah, Black Widow is going to have that, dual release. I'm at that $30 paywall, but still a dual release.
But it's due to come out when again?
July 8th.
So that'll be like one of the biggest blockbusters for the summer. Is that coming out, because Marvel movies have literally printed their own money.
Yeah, they have not been stopped on making the money. So and seeing on how WandaVision and the Falcon Winter Soldier brought in a lot of people to watch on the streaming services, see what Black Widow can do in the theaters.
I think it's totally plausible, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes.
Beans.
Well, we got a little bit of time left. Got a couple of odds and ends stories. So what do you say we real quickly kind of chew through that? We got 3 odds and ends stories. Let's do those real quick, and then we'll call it a night. First up, I'm going to go from the bottom to the top for reasons that are entirely my own. So
yes. Oh, I know exactly why.
So, all right. So tell me about this first one. Okay. The headline reads, Belgian farmer made France smaller by accident when he moved a rock. What?
Yeah. So it's not just an ordinary rock. He says it's a sizable rock, and he moved it because it was disrupting the tractor's path. But what it turned out to be is that the rock was actually a marker that served as a divider between both countries, France and Belgium. So by moving the stone marker, quote, 7.5 feet reportedly made France smaller and Belgium larger. So the shift of the border was noticed by locals who explored the boundary earlier this year. So very, very interesting. So David Lavax, sorry if I butchered your name, mayor of Equilinus, shared a Facebook post on Monday that showed the stone is currently sitting next to a tree, fallen branch, and wire fence. It's interesting to see that the border was actually set, quotes, established in March 28th, 1820 with the Treaty of Kortrijk. So it's been that way for a very, very long time until this guy decided, hey, you can't farm it in that spot, so let's move it so I can farm. So
that I don't know if that's odd. I mean, that's definitely odd, but that just seems ridiculous. So then again, so are most of the Senate hearings. So hey, let's move on. All right. Next one. Wow. Okay.
Yes. There you go. Put it in
Vlad
the chat.
The Vaccinator. Dracula's castle lures visitors with COVID-19 jabs.
Yeah. So down in Bucharest, where the Dracula's castle is located, to bring in, not only are you going there for the Transylvania attraction of visiting Dracula's castle, but you can also get a COVID shot there. So, quote, doctors and nurses with fang stickers on their scrubs are offering free visor shots to all comers at the 14th century Bran Castle, end quotes.
Really?
Yes.
Really? Is tourism down that bad?
Yes.
Actually, no, I take that back because that's actually really ingenious.
So no, it actually is a way to they are hoping, based on this article, that it will bring tourists back to the Romanian Carpathian Mountains. Since the start of the pandemic, Europe has been hit one of the hardest places. So hopefully this is they say, quote, the idea was to show how people got jabbed 500, 600 years ago in Europe by doing it in the castle. So very interesting, very good way, I guess, to drum up.
I mean, yeah, you're right. The first time you think about that, it's like, this just sounds absolutely nuts. And then it's like, wait a minute. I took a historical site and I need to have people need to get vaccinated. Let's use a historical site for the vaccinations where you could get your vaccination and you can learn a little bit about the regional history.
Yeah.
The more I think about it, the more I'm like, that's not a bad idea.
So it also, while you go get your shot, it also gives you the free entry to the castle to exhibit the 52 medieval torture instruments. So there's an exhibit that showcases the torture instruments, and you get free access to view them after getting the shot. So, as one visitor said in this article, hey, it's a 2-for-1 special. So
Alrighty, and our last story, speaking of museums
Oh yes.
and pulp culture, the
Yeah.
Smithsonian is prepping for a new exhibit in 2022.
Yes. What is the exhibits, Scuba?
The exhibit is going to be an X-Wing fighter.
Oh yeah. So we are planning a trip right now, aren't we? I can see it in your
love me
eyes.
some Star Wars. Don't get me wrong. I love me some Star Wars. But I don't know if I'm willing to go back to DC to see one exhibit.
Well, there's a lot to see in that. There's a lot to see in that specific Smithsonian because it's going to be in the National Air and Space Museum. So it's definitely a lot to see. But seeing a replica that is a 37-foot long screen used vehicle, so it's actually still being repurposed. So hopefully, once it's done, it'll be ready to go.
All right. Well, if anything, when my daughter goes for her trip to DC, hopefully they will visit there and she will be able to get pictures of herself next to this X-Wing fighter.
Oh yeah.
But that's very fascinating.
I'm definitely going to check it out once it opens. Once the museum opens up, because I love visiting museums.
Yes, I do like the idea of traveling. I know I definitely want to try and hit PAX Unplugged this year, if possible. But that is the end of our show for tonight, ladies and germs. Thank you very much if you stuck with us to the end of this video. If you enjoyed what you were watching, please be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to hear about more stuff that we put out, please hit the subscribe and the bell notification so you'll be notified when future videos come out. This, of course, is Scuba and The Ry, our weekly podcast where we talk about movies, games, and everything in between. Additional shows we've got is Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern is Shadow Watch, a live play D&D game with myself and four other friends as they are traveling through the Underdark. They just got outside of a drow temple called Lady Loth, and now they're going to have to plan how they're going to infiltrate. Should be a lot of fun. And we have at 8 p.m. Eastern on is Challenge Accepted, another live play D&D game. This one they are working through the Ghost of Saltmarsh adventure set. This week they are going on a crocodile hunt. So if you're familiar with that section of the story, it'd be fun to watch, see how these guys play through it. And then on Sunday is Sunday with Scoob, where I do spend a couple hours chatting with friends and working on miniatures. I have a young blue dragon that I'm going to be continuing to work on to finish fleshing out. Oh,
Cool beans.
Interesting. In South Carolina, they lift the mask mandate. We will see how that goes. But as usual, thank you out to the community for checking us out, hanging out with us, and supporting us. Thank you to the moderators in the chat. You guys are awesome and amazing. Thank you to Ry for spending another Tuesday night with hanging out, doing the podcast thing. And you guys all have a wonderful and safe week. We will see you on our next episode. Good night, everybody.
Peace.